the East German stuff off and put a few little remakes like this year of Second World War, and they sell them for real. That friend you sent me, he had a beautiful sergeant's jacket, man, with their going out uniform. That's why I really like that. That's so beautiful. How much you need? $1,650 for a jacket. I mean, you know, if you got a printing press at home, it's okay. But if you don't, I mean, God have mercy. You know. Go ahead.
You know, not many other people had the opportunity to go to Germany. I went, flew into Frankfurt, and bicycled across the country through the Black Forest.
Black Forest, beautiful.
Didn't see Robin Hood, but rode a bicycle up the mountain, 7% grade. Got to the top and was riding down about 45 miles an hour on 2 wheels. But the German people were very nice. As soon as you walked into a room, they knew you were American. They,
oh yeah,
you know,
yeah,
they
your
spot
clothes
you.
and yeah, right, they can spot you with
Your mannerisms. One fellow, we sat at a restaurant, about 150 years old, and he could tell by the way we ate that we were foreigners. You know, because everybody else there would cut their meat and they would eat with their left hand.
Right.
They would just, and we would switch hands with the knife and the fork.
Right.
They could tell right away. But as long as you attempted to speak some German, they would speak to you. But if you just spoke English and you didn't even attempt, no matter how bad you butchered their language, they were nice enough to accommodate you.
Well, when I talked to a lot of GIs and everything, ones that were stationed there, had been stationed in England, in France, Germany, they all chose Germany as the best place to be. They just loved it there. The food is so good. People are common. In Germany, like my family, my dad's family, had a sister and 2 brothers over here. Almost everybody in Germany has relations in America. And they always loved America. They always had a saying, to go to the country where you can find gold dollars on the street. Well, I never found a gold dollar on the street, but they always held America in high esteem. I mean, this thing with Hitler, that was just a passing thing that, it's too bad that he got in. It's too bad that somebody didn't shoot him. How many times they tried, how many times they tried to blow him up. I always think he had something with the devil, because, I mean, how many times can you try to be murdered and you don't get murdered? I mean, it just doesn't work out. And then the bad part about him was that he wanted to live as long as he could, that he put 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds, everybody had a fight. Millions of soldiers got killed. My dad lost 2 brothers in the Second World War. So almost everybody has really a bad feeling about the Second World War and the First World War isn't too good. Any war ain't no good, man, really. I send money to the Graves Registration in Germany. They collect money. What they're doing is finding soldiers who have been buried in Russia, in Yugoslavia, in wherever in Africa, and they build nice cemeteries for them. And they say they're really running out of time now because a lot of the people who lived during that time and know where maybe there's a couple of soldiers buried are dying, and then it'll really be hard to find anybody. But they're doing a tremendous job, and they say they're doing this for peace, and that I really think that's great. But anybody else don't have a question? Yes.
You know, back in the 70s, I was over in Munich,
Munich,
and I went to the Hofbrauhaus, and I spoke English. They have so much that goes on there.
Oh, yeah.
And they have all these beer mugs on the walls, and people would come in and they would go over and had them locked. They would unlock a mug and take it down and give it to the old guy, fill it up with beer for him, and he'd drink it. So the people that live around there, do they keep their mugs at the?
You know, the old barber shops used to do it here in America where they had you know, the soap and everything. Yeah, they do that in certain places. I didn't know about the Hofbrauhaus doing it because we were there in October of last year. We went over for a month, and we walked into the Hofbrauhaus because right on the street that goes to the Hofbrauhaus, they have 3 or 4 stores that sell T-shirts and all kind of goodies to bring home for our kids and the grandkids and uncles and whoever. And then there's one store that is a jewelry shop, and my daughter, she loves to buy jewelry with my wife, and they bought a bunch for everybody. But we walked in there, and we're looking, my goodness, it was lunchtime. Where in the hell are we going to find a seat? Couldn't find nothing. So we kept walking, and right about in the middle, they have a little thing, cubby thing, like where they have 4 or 5 musicians who play the Umpapa music.
Yeah, they had that.
And right across from there is the Stammtisch. The Stammtisch is like the old, we got tables here too for the old timers or the people who come all the time. And there was an old man sitting there. And I looked at him and he looked at me and he said, "Come, sit here, sit down." So me and the wife sat down. The first thing I did was order him a beer. And we were friends forever, man. I mean, God. So, but I said to him, I said, "Is it like this?" He said, "Every day." I said, "Well, how many people fit in here?" He said, "Well, the bottom floor takes care of 3,500 people." And we couldn't find a place to sit but that one table. There's nobody sat there because there was a shelter, you know? 3,000.
And they all drinking beer.
They all drinking beer and eating and just the music is playing, the Papa is playing.
Yeah. I sat there all day long.
Yeah. It's really fun. It's Munich is, and then when they have the Oktoberfest, I mean, people are really crazy. I mean, God. We usually went, if you go after 4 o'clock, you have to have a reservation for one of these big tents that holds 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people. But if you go before that time, around noon or something, you can walk in, you can order lunch and eat and stuff like that, but you got to be out of there by 4. So we've gone a couple of times, and I collected beer steins from, they have a nice beer mug with every year they have a different emblem on it. And the thing is, when I don't go, I know the owners of Rustal, which is in the Westerwald, and they make them. So I talked to the girl, the lady who owns it, and she just says, "Send me a check and then I'll send it to my cousin." I used to have them sent home to America. Customs here, for a mug that costs 10 marks or $10, they want to charge it $25 import duty, and that, I said no. I said just send them to my cousin and buy yourself. And when we go there to stay, because my mother lived there for years and years, she's buried there, and we just put them in our suitcase and then and just take them home like that. So, but collecting beer mugs and beer steins is a lot of fun.
Where do you find a stein for $10? Because we were there in August and
in Germany.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
A little bitty stein was more than $10. They're expensive now.
Well, things have gone high, especially if you want to get something old. You can find more old German stuff here than you do in Germany, because in Germany, so much stuff has been wrecked, bombed out, stolen by GIs when they were right after the war, and stuff like that. So you can find much more here, and they have 2 large American auction houses, Ron Fox from California and Amalox from Palatine, Illinois, and they put out a beautiful catalog of every kind of a beer stein you can find, different kind. And you also, when you go to Germany, it's just like if you go in the French Quarter, someplace to eat, or if you go someplace out of town or a smaller place, you can eat a lot more reasonable. If you go in the main drag and everything, you're going to pay prices that they expect from visitors. But you can still find stuff if you know where to look. And we find some really good stuff on the flea markets. They have, with